Hi again, guys. I am still here at Shoptalk Luxe in Abu Dhabi, literally on the beach at Emirates Palace, interviewing some of the world's leaders that are really shifting what's going on in the world of luxury. And my next guest, amazing, I'm hoping to get loads of free holidays out of this, is Candice D'Cruz. Candice's job is the VP of Luxury Brands at Hilton, specifically in the Asian markets. Is that correct? Asia Pacific?
Yes. I look after Asia Pacific, including China.
Amazing.
Based out of Singapore.
And I am very excited about this podcast because we're going to be talking about travel trends. And who doesn't want to talk about that? What's going on in the market, what's happening, what we can expect, what you guys are doing to shift and engage with your consumers. So, one thing that we spoke about, which I wasn't aware of, but I'm going to get you to explain it to me and our guests, is this kind of quiet shift over to this quiet, low visibility luxury holidays or luxury, travel. Can you delve into that and what's happening in the market?
Yeah, so I'd say, and I'm going to use a couple of buzzwords that people sort of relate to today. So one was, as we came out of the pandemic, there was this entire conversation around revenge travel. Everybody was really traveling all the time, as much as they could, because they didn't have opportunity to travel for 5 years, just based on how long that country was kind of shut down. Fast forward another 5 years on, people have become, and that's the buzzword for this year, I would say for 2026, intention or purpose. So people are being a lot more intentional of how they're spending their time, who they're spending their time with, why they're spending their time in certain places. And with that, there's this entire focus on what we're calling quiet luxury, or the word that Hilton has coined as part of our 2026 trends called hospitality. So hospitality is another word for you to take away. But as part of hospitality and this quiet luxury, as part of intent, I think people have just started to think about where do they spend their time best and how do they invest in themselves. It kind of goes to all of these parallel conversations happening around whether it's longevity, whether it's multi-generational travel, whether it is moving away from crowds, and that's where the entire quiet luxury happens. As part of that, it's all around deeper connection. So while we spoke a lot about another buzzword, digital detox, I think this is the evolution of digital detox, where people are being a lot more precise around what does quiet luxury or quietness look like for them. Whether it is learning a new hobby, whether it is spending more time with loved ones, but really taking that digital detox into the next phase of being a little more holistic and a little more broader in terms of looking inward.
Love this. I have to ask, where are you staying in Abu Dhabi?
I'm staying in one of our brands, Conrad, here in Abu Dhabi. I was so impressed with the check-in yesterday. I got in about 1 a.m. in the morning, and I was greeted by the team there. So feeling quite humbled because I love what I do when it comes to hospitality, but also quite privileged being back in Abu Dhabi or being back in the UAE after 2 years since taking on and moving to Singapore.
I love the Conrad. I love the brand as a whole. We actually went for dinner last night in one of the restaurants there, Sushi Samba. And we've got one of my clients are staying there as well. And they, again, they couldn't rave about it enough. It was beautiful.
I'm so proud of our team. They're really doing an amazing job.
Yeah, the service is impeccable. Even just me arriving as a guest to go and visit my client yesterday, I was so well looked after. And I think that's a real... I think that's the thing. In the luxury space, there's so much that's important to us as consumers in terms of the experience. And that one bad experience at a hotel can change. And that's hard for you guys, right?
Yes. I mean, first impressions always count. But I'd say one of the areas that we look at for luxury hospitality or luxury experiences is personalization over perfection. So how do we speak to you for you versus focusing so much on perfection and making this super exclusive where you miss the point of luxury really being that emotional connect.
Yeah.
So I'm glad to hear that you felt welcomed and you felt the Conrad hospitality.
Yeah, it's a great brand and you guys do great things.
Thank you.
So we've talked a little bit about how people are changing their buying behaviour when it comes to choosing how they want to spend their holidays, what they want to do when they're travelling. I can definitely empathise with that, by the way, because I travel a lot for work. My free time is incredibly important. So what does what do you actually think quiet luxury, like if we delve a bit deeper, what does that mean to consumers? What's the kind of driving force behind it?
So, I mean, going back to this entire revenge travel, where people were traveling everywhere, tourism went from being flat, absolute flatlining, to this curve or this upward trajectory, which people didn't expect, or brands didn't expect, or hotel operators didn't expect. Now, on the luxury side, over-tourism is one that we are very much focused on. Most of the big operators in the luxury space are hearing this. And what we're seeing is these Tier 2, Tier 3 markets that were probably not always on that list of travel are becoming more popular, where guests are seeking destinations that are not for everyone, that are a little more precise, where you can connect with the destination. People are also spending a lot more time when it comes to quiet luxury, where they're sort of having this quietness from every perspective, not just digital detox, but wellness, which is a thing just beyond another sort of tick the box exercise. But with wellness, spending more time on self-reflection, learning something, whether it is a hobby, whether it's just thinking about taking better care of themselves, like sleep. Yeah, quiet luxury is also around having a better routine when it comes to sleep. So I'd say it's very layered when it comes to what it means to different people. Quiet luxury would mean something completely different to you versus me versus anyone else. And that's where this entire piece of luxury experiences, or what I was saying, personalization over perfection, is how do we make sure that quiet luxury connects with you for what you want to do, whether it is spending time with your loved ones because you're on the road continuously and you've got a week, but you want to make that week count. So you really have an itinerary where you're not distracted, all the distractions are taken away, and you're really spending quality moments. Or whether it is you are on this personal journey of taking care of yourself and you want to go into a wellness retreat and really make sure you're eating right, you're sleeping right, you're set or resetting for the year ahead. We are at the start of a new year. So yeah, different things to different people, but really it's more reflective, more inward in terms of quieting down, probably in some cases even your thoughts, giving clarity of thought, and the focus that I set for this year, being more intentional.
Yeah, I think you've just read me there. Although I'm literally at the moment, I've got 2 holidays that I'm focused on this year. One is going to be just for me, which is going to be a wellness retreat. And the other one is with my daughter. But I want to go like somewhere where there's nothing. Because exactly that, I need as much as I love coming to places like Dubai, New York, wherever, because I am often traveling to big cities. When I go on my summer holiday, I want to be somewhere that's really calm and quiet, and a book, and almost like as basic as possible.
Yes, less distraction.
Yeah.
Because you want to make sure that you are giving, and this is where I go. The world is moving so quickly. There's so much of digital conversations that we're continuously having, whether it's us putting out content or receiving content or playing with content at large. How do we make sure that the limited time we have is truly deeper as part of connection?
Yeah, well, that was going to actually be my next question, is how, as well, a kind of group of brands, do you make sure that you are connecting with your customer? How important is, of course, people are coming and having an experience with you. We've talked a little bit about experience, but yes, how do you make sure that you're connecting with your customer, not necessarily just from a marketing perspective, but on the whole?
We try to make sure no cookie cutter, intentional in even a way that we sort of bring our brands to life. So if I look at Conrad, and you have experienced Conrad firsthand, the entire thought process with Conrad, it is for that executive on the move. And now thinking of lesser time, how do we get you out the door faster? So we launched a program called Conrad 135, and it's very simple. What can you do in 1 hour, 3 hours, 5 hours in that destination to just help you get the ability to plan faster? And this again, us wanting to have, being able to have connection, but at the same time wanting to have autonomy, this human need, continuous need. So with autonomy is to give you to this allowance to plan your itinerary, but at the same time connection is where you look at that itinerary and decide what do you want to do that's going to give you that intentional connection. Now, when it comes to LXR, which is our independent or soft brand, as we call it in hospitality, everything that we've done around that is around the sense of adventure. And now again, adventure is different things for different people. Some people could be adventure, a amazing dining experience somewhere in some city that is not that is really unique to that city. Or adventure could be wellness retreat and doing something in Bali, like we have the Umana Bali, where it is a very spiritual destination, and you go there for various reasons. You could go there for an amazing beach experience, but you could go there for a very spiritual wellness retreat. So with LXR, we've tried to make sure that we have another program that helps activate that destination storytelling and bring to life that sense of adventure called Pursuit of Adventure, differentiating ourselves from Conrad. And then with Waldorf Astoria for us is a legacy brand, a brand that has so much rich history, so much of history when it comes to how it shaped luxury hospitality, how it shaped luxury innovation when it came to service. So a lot of the work that we do there is absolutely rooted in its heritage, but thinking future forward, thinking innovation, thinking about guest experience, thinking about AI and what that means. How can we make sure that it's an enabler versus sort of being too reliant on it? So different brands, different ways of making sure that we connect with our audience, but also putting it back in the hands of the guest in terms of that personalization.
Yeah. What about the kind of experiential element? How do you bring that to life? I guess because until someone's been to the hotel, to the resort, whatever it might be, they don't necessarily know about the brand. So how do you kind of pull them in the first place? What's important?
It's every brand has to think more holistically. It's not one over the other, but it's all together depending on where and how you show up. So for Waldorf Astoria, one of the areas, and if I take a step back, today when people look at travel, two really big drivers. One is wellness, which is not going to go away with this entire focus on longevity and everything that it means. But the second is dining, food, F&B, or food and drinks. Different people call it different things, but that is a big driver in decision making. So I'll take Waldorf Astoria in terms of an example of how we bring it to life. We've been very intentional in making sure that our culinary story at every Waldorf Astoria is differentiated, it's unique. So if someone's going to a Waldorf Astoria, they can expect a extraordinary dining experience. So we brought in different partners around the world. So most recently for Waldorf Astoria in Bali, we partnered with Dave Pint coming out of Australia. He has a certain style of relaxed sort of dining, which is Australian. He's Australian at heart and very Australian in terms of his style. And then for London, we brought in Daniel Baloud, bringing him back into London for the Waldorf Astoria in London, but also Claire Smith, another highly acclaimed chef, as a partner. So the reason I'm sharing these examples is F&B is such a big piece in terms of deciding on the destination, because today hotels have become the destination. You end up spending a lot more time, whether it's around the pool, but you want to have good food around the pool, or whether it's in-room dining. And you want to make sure that you're not just eating a burger and there's place for a burger, but then you also have variety and choice, which is another thing that a luxury guest looks for. So those are the two areas that we spend a lot of time. And then we sort of see how we are bringing that to life, whether it's through partnerships, whether it's through activations, taking these chefs on the road with us to destinations. Most recently, we were at the ILTM in Cannes, and we had Claire Smith there to talk about what we could expect in London when she opens her venue at the hotel. So taking them on the road with us so that our customers and our guests can interact even before they open, or to the way we're having conversations on at large on content. I was just looking up this stat to say that consumers are getting younger, and guests are a substantial percentage of our young guests are on TikTok. So how do luxury guests make sure that they cater to that audience that is making purchasing decisions on TikTok?
Yeah.
Which, if you were to speak to a marketer in luxury, let's say a decade ago, they'd say TikTok?
Not
Never.
for us.
Yes.
But it is. I guess we go on fairly luxurious holidays, but my daughter plans everything via TikTok. She's looking on there to find out which restaurants we should go to, which bar. I mean, she's nearly 18, so where the cool places, the nice beaches, whatever it might be. And the same with my team, a lot of them are in their 20s. They're, even for here, they're planning our trip using TikTok. It is, you can't escape it now. It's for every market.
Absolutely. You're looking at the content, you're looking at pictures, you're looking at trending content and why. And the why, I think, has become very important, even within TikTok, to sort of say, if they are going to TikTok, why are they going there? And how do we make sure we're not sort of doing the same content across all our channels, but really catering for that younger mindset and a more informal way of interaction.
Yeah, I guess working with a lot of influencers as well, because there's so many that I follow.
Yes, that's table stakes, I would say. Yeah. You need storytellers and true, authentic storytellers who resonate with your audience, but also with your brand.
Yeah.
So being quite specific on who those partners are.
Yeah, how you choose them. Before I let you go, because I'm obsessed with going on holiday and traveling, can you tell me any other big trends that you see coming, specifically in the world of luxury travel this year?
So one that everyone is watching is wellness. I think wellness is just about getting started. And I'd say what's interesting from one woman to another is wellness is being driven largely through solo travelers, and women are the drivers of solo travel. I would say over the next few years, you will see solo travelers or solo travel just get bigger in terms of what it means for brands, and how do they even think of simple things like table for one. Often you go to restaurants and you're dining alone on solo travel, but by default it's set up for table for two. Or the way that a room is set up where you have double vanity and amenity set up for two. So how do you get a little more thoughtful in terms of that solo travel? But in terms of wellness, going back to that entire broad spectrum of wellness and longevity, it's no longer going to be a tick box exercise. Brands will need to be a lot more precise about what they do at a hotel level, but even pre-arrival. How do they personalize, how they look at preferences, from dining habits to sleeping habits to shower and how showers are set up to beyond just the gym and the spa. So I'd say wellness is another trend that I would be, or we would be in luxury hospitality keenly watching. And then the last one that I would sort of leave you with, which is on your list as well, multi-generational travel. So travel with family, but looking at it at different layers. And there was a report that Virtuoso recently did that in 2025 was the first year ever, or the first year in history, where 7 generations traveled together, including beta babies, which are babies of the Gen Zs. So as part of that multi-generational travel, that's not going to go away, because we really want to be spending more time with our loved ones. And we will see within that different ways of it showing up. So grandparents taking their grandchildren and traveling, or mother-daughter trips, or just multi-generational travel with for celebrations. But that's one that's probably going to have influence on many other areas of travel.
Oh, I love that. I've not heard the phrase beta babies either, so I'm taking that one. I love it. I've got friends who are about my age, and my cousin who's a bit older, who've just had grandchildren. So I'm going to tell them that they've got beta babies.
Beta babies,
yeah,
absolutely.
I love that, and they better take them on holiday.
Yeah.
It's so true. Like that's one of the other holidays that we're looking at, is me traveling with my mum, who's in her 70s, myself, and my daughter. So how do we, find somewhere that's going to work for all of us? That there's maybe one room so we can all share, or interconnecting rooms, however that works. So yeah, it's definitely how we travel is becoming a lot more diverse, and we expect a lot from the luxury brands that we buy into, I think.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, we've had to revisit design of rooms and redesign of resorts because of multi-generational travel.
Candice, honestly, I could talk to you about this all day. I love it.
I love the questions.
So good.
We can continue chatting, but I'm sure you've got a busy day.
I know.
Already.
I think I've got 1 minute till my next one. Candice, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
You have been incredible. Thank you so much for joining us and sharing so much.
Thank you.